She
This valve
arrived in
here
a
was the
black
main
car
issue.
that cost more
Can
than
we get
his
it replaced
entire
today?
building, and he was mopping the lobby floor
I've
when she
already got the
walked
spare
past
right
him
here.
without blinking.
Perfect, let's get it
He
fixed.
didn't know she was watching him through the reflection in the glass door, cataloging every movement with the same precision she used to evaluate acquisition targets. Her heel caught a wet patch, and she went down hard, her portfolio scattering across the tile, and before the doorman could move, the janitor had already set down his mop and was crouching beside her, checking her wrist for swelling with hands that moved like someone who had done this before. She told him she was fine. He didn't respond. He pressed 2 fingers to the inside of her wrist, counted something silently, and stood up. He handed her the portfolio without looking inside it and went back to his mop. Elena Voss had not been ignored in 11 years. She stood in the lobby of the building her company had just acquired, holding a folder that contained the financial futures of 400 people, and watched a man in grey coveralls wring out a mop like she wasn't there. She asked the doorman his name. Marcus Cole, she was told. Maintenance. Been here 3 years. Quiet guy. Has a kid. She filed that away. The building conversion took 6 weeks. She came back twice, each time in the same black car, each time with the same 2 attorneys from Hargrove and Prout, the firm her father had used for 30 years, and that she had never once questioned. Raymond Prout had been at her christening. He had read her father's will aloud. She trusted him the way you trust a wall, without thinking about it at all. On the 3rd visit, she found a child sitting on the bottom step of the service stairwell, a girl of about 6, drawing something in a spiral notebook, with the complete absorption of someone who had learned to make her own world small enough to carry. The girl looked up, unafraid, and held out the notebook without speaking. The drawing was of a man, mopping a floor surrounded by yellow stars. Elena almost said something sharp. Instead, she took the notebook, looked at it for 4 full seconds, and handed it back. "I'm Lily," the girl said. "My dad works here." "I know," Elena said. "Do you want half my sandwich?" Elena Voss, who had not eaten bread in 6 years, took the half sandwich. She stood in the stairwell and ate it and did not say a word. She began pulling the building's personnel files that night, which was not unusual. What was unusual was that she pulled Marcus Cole's first. The file was thin. 3 years of clean performance reviews, an address in the Glenfield district, an emergency contact, no one listed. She called her assistant and asked for anything deeper. 2 hours later, her assistant called back with a voice that was careful in the way voices get when information is surprising. Marcus Cole had a contractor's license, a structural engineering degree from Georgia Tech, and had owned a firm called Cole Briggs Construction that had built half the waterfront development in the city before dissolving 8 years ago. No bankruptcy, no scandal, just dissolved. She sat with that for a long time. She went back to the building on a Tuesday without the attorneys, without the car service. She took a cab. She was not entirely sure why. She found Marcus in the basement, running diagnostics on the HVAC system, which she had been told needed full replacement at a cost of $200,000. He was replacing one component. He showed her the part in his open palm, said vendor markup, and nothing else, and the way he held it minus like evidence, not complaint, minus made something shift in her chest that she didn't have a name for. She told Raymond Prout that evening that she wanted the conversion costs re-audited. Raymond said that was unnecessary. He said it with a particular smoothness of a man who has said unnecessary things smoothly for decades, and for the first time in her life, Elena heard it. The envelope arrived at her office on a Thursday. No return address, routed through building management. Inside was a single page, a contract amendment dated 8 years ago, her father's signature at the bottom, Prout's initials in the margin, and a line transferring Colebriggs Construction's primary waterfront contract to a shell company Elena had never heard of. The company, she would learn by Friday morning, had Pruitt's brother-in-law as its registered agent. She did not call Pruitt. She drove to Glenfield. Marcus Cole answered the door in a T-shirt with a smear of paint on the sleeve. Lily was at the kitchen table with a different notebook. The apartment was small and clean in a way that felt chosen, the shelves full of engineering manuals and one framed photograph of a woman Elena didn't ask about. He poured her coffee without asking if she wanted any. She put the envelope on the table. He looked at it for a moment, and then he looked at her. "You knew," she said. "I knew. Enough to leave. Why didn't you? What would I have said?" Not a question, she understood that. The gap between them was not the table or the coffee cups or the 7 floors between her penthouse and this street minus it was 8 years of him, knowing something and saying nothing, and building his daughter a life on the other side of it, and her not knowing any of it was possible. She asked about the firm only because she needed to hear it plain, he told her. A partner's contract, a redirect of funds. His wife had been sick by then, and the fight would have taken years, and she didn't have years, and so he let it go. He said it all in the same flat tone a man uses when he has already grieved something, so many times it no longer requires performance. She didn't say she was sorry. She pressed her palm flat against the table between them, not reaching, just there, and he saw it, and he didn't move away. They drove to the waterfront the following week. The 3 of them. Lily ran ahead on the pier. Elena stood beside Marcus, looking at the buildings he had built, and that someone else had profited from, and she felt the weight of her inheritance differently than she ever had, minus Notta's power. But as consequence, he said, "She loves the water," Elena nodded. "We come here on Sundays," he said. "If you want." She looked at the buildings. She looked at the water. She did not turn toward him. But she didn't leave.